All right, we are back with our Bible in a Year plan using the Charles Stanley Life Principles Daily Bible. And this is day 2 of going through Ecclesiastes. And I've never read this book before, but I'm enjoying it so far. We'll just dive right into the verse. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. So it seems like there's almost 2 ways to read this first sentence. He has made everything beautiful in its time. It first reminds me of that verse about God works all things together for good. So there could be sin in this world, there could be bad things that have happened, but God works it together at some point in time into something beautiful. And that, I believe it's the Hebrew word that's translated beautiful here, is could also be translated as like fitting and orderly. So everything fits together in time. Also, he has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. So this is where you could almost interpret that first sentence slightly differently, where it could be just pointing to things could be beautiful for a time and then they decay. And the context kind of plays into that second translation or interpretation, because before this, we have that classic Ecclesiastes where there's a time for war and a time for peace, a time for life and a time for death, a time to love and a time to hate. I think they say that in the movie Wedding Crashers at one point. So it shows that, this world is a world of cycles. It's not like a linear path. It seems like things grow and things die. Things are built up and then things are destroyed. So everything is beautiful in its time. But then this verse right here, also he has put eternity into man's heart. We all have that knowledge of God. We know that there's an eternal God. We crave that love and a relationship with a God who is perfect. And we often try to fill this hole in our heart with all sorts of other things. But there is a reason that nothing else can satisfy that hole, and it's because it can only be satisfied by God. He has put eternity into a man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. So this one kind of makes me think more to interpret that first verse in the first way I interpreted it, where he has made everything beautiful in its time, as in like God works all things together for good. Because this part, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from beginning to end, might point to the fact that there's some bad thing in our life, there's some sin, we don't know how he's going to turn it into something beautiful, but we know he's going to. God's put eternity into our heart, but we cannot find out God's entire plan. So we have this craving for the eternal, for complete knowledge, but we cannot get it in this life. So what do we do instead? Well, if you're going about it the wrong way, you try to fill that void with all sorts of things and you're never satisfied, or you draw close to God, because that is where you can get as close to that eternal feeling and fill that void in this life as you possibly can. Psalm 102:12. But you, O Lord, are enthroned forever. You are remembered throughout all generations. So how perfectly does this just kind of not transform, but connect to the last verse, where he has put eternity into man's heart. We ache for it, and that eternity is found in the Lord. You are enthroned forever. So everything in this life is going to be fleeting, and that's why this Ecclesiastes book says it's meaningless, it's vanity, it's vapor, it's mist, it's here one second, it's gone the next. But what lasts forever is God. You are remembered throughout all generations. And that's why he is the solid foundation that we can stand on. He is the only foundation that we can stand on, because everything else is shifting sand. Everything is just wind and smoke disappearing. God is that solid foundation that never changes forever. Proverbs 24:3-4. By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. So what is wisdom? The beginning of wisdom. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. I think that's a proverb. So fear of the Lord is reverence for God, respect for God, understanding his power and his glory. And wisdom, by wisdom a house is built. So it's understanding that God is the foundation that you build that house upon. We could easily tie this into Jesus saying, build your house on the sand. When the winds come and the rains come, that house is washed away. But if you build your house on the rock, it doesn't matter the storm, that house is going to stand. So by wisdom it's built, by understanding it is established. The way we get wisdom and understanding, spending time in the Bible every single day. As you spend more time, it's amazing how it does just transform you. It's like reprogramming your mind, burning off that sinful nature that you have, and just replacing your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors with ones that are in alignment with God and his word. And as you do that, you start to get the fruit of the Spirit: love, peace, joy, patience, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. I think kindness is in there too. And then it says, by knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. That points to those fruit of the Spirit I was just mentioning. It's not necessarily saying, oh, read the Bible and you're going to get rich. Maybe there's some pastors who might say that, but that wouldn't be the gospel. But by knowledge, the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. The riches we're really looking forward in this life, that is the fruit of the Spirit that I just mentioned. And that's why we go for things like money. We think it's going to bring us stability, and we think that'll bring peace to our life. Why do we idolize a relationship? We are searching for that love in a place that is somewhat fleeting, when we should be getting that eternal love from God. The ultimate riches, though, singular rich, the ultimate rich, is drawing close to God, building a relationship with him, being in his presence. He is the end. And he is what we are going for. And then those fruit of the Spirit that I mentioned are what stem out of a relationship with God, when you abide in his vine. And 1 Corinthians 8, 1-2. Now concerning food offered to idols, we know that all of us possess knowledge. This knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. If anyone imagines that he knows something, he does not yet know as he ought to know. First thing I think of here is some of the most knowledgeable people that we think about today are some of these scientists who, when they speak, they just have this air of condescension and arrogance that comes out of them. And I even thought this before I was Christian. There's some scientists that like people revere as, the brightest minds of our day. And I just think, I can't stand listening to this person because they just seem so they seem like a know-it-all, to put it as a child would put it. This knowledge puffs up. And we can get so arrogant that we start to not think about other people. We start to not listen to other people. And that's actually what Paul's pointing to in this chapter. This knowledge puffs up. So it's these people who, they understand that these idols aren't actually real. So it wouldn't be a big deal if they ate the food that was offered to the idols, because the idols are fake. But love builds up. What he talks about in this chapter is there's some people who are weak in the faith who might think it is bad to eat food to those idols. And if you eat it in front of them, it might tempt them into eating it, and then they'd be going against their own conscience, and whatever is not done in faith is sin. So all of a sudden, because you got all puffed up from your knowledge and you wanted to maybe show it off a little bit and eat that food in front of your brother who thinks it's bad, all of a sudden he slips up and you've caused him to stumble. So instead of being puffed up by your knowledge and doing what you desire, focus on love, because that's what builds up. If anyone imagines that he knows something, he does not know yet as he ought to know. Seems to remind me of the Job story as well. He seemed a little bit to say, like, I am justified, I know I am blameless, I know I'm upright, I want a trial with God to make my case. And then God just humbles him by saying all of these things he does not know. And it puts Job in this feeling of humility where he realizes, yeah, thanks for the ego check. I needed that. But in this, the overall takeaway in 1 Corinthians 8 is that looking out for other people and their walk with God and building them up is how we show love, and that is more important than gratifying our desires. Don't need to make it more complicated than that. So I think we'll just close it up right there. Till next time, in Jesus' name.